Okay, we're going to start with theory comparison. So starting off, the agenda of this presentation is to introduce the theories, compare similarities and differences, describe strengths and challenges, how do the theories attend to multicultural competence, supervision considerations, explain personal relevance of these theories and models, and explain what was learned within this assignment. So, to introduce the theories, I'll start by describing person-centered theory along with cognitive behavioral theory, which is based on cognitive behavioral therapy. So, in the first description here, I have a theory that is focused on three central topics. Those are empathy, congruence, and unconditional positive regard. It was developed by Carl Rogers, and there is a great emphasis on the supervisor-supervisee relationship and why that relationship is really important will be explained later on in this presentation. The next theory I want to explain is cognitive behavioral theory, which focuses more on, say, thoughts, behaviors, emotions, perceptions, applies the knowledge of how cognitive therapy processes are applied to the clients presenting problems. Similarities and differences of these theories start with the person-centered theory. That is more focused on how one's personal perspective of the world can influence them, whereas cognitive behavioral therapy is more focused on perceptions of how those individuals' ideas, thoughts, cognitions influence them. So, the description of strengths and challenges of each theory again start with person-centered theory, and its strengths are empathy, congruence, and unconditional positive regard, which is really the core principles of person-centered theory, also known as PCT. If you see that anywhere, that's what it's referring to. Let's see. Demonstration of empathy and reflection of emotion is helpful in reducing anxiety, and it also increases learning. Oh, that's supposed to say increases, incretion of learning. Okay. The challenges are that it is difficult to prove some of the bases of this theory, and there is a scarcity of current research, and those two challenges kind of go together. Now, in cognitive behavioral theory, it being closely related to cognitive behavioral therapy, there's a lot of structure, which is one of its key components. And then it also places a huge emphasis on opportunities for experimental learning and with supervisor within the sessions. So that's supposed to say experimental learning within the sessions. The challenges are that within cognitive behavioral theory, supervision isn't really supported. Like why we should use it is not supported yet. So it lacks some of that research. And unlike the therapy, it doesn't use direct observations like CBT. There isn't standardized observational rating systems used nor in place to help support the research behind this theory yet, and it also lacks experimental methods that could be used in supervision. How do we incorporate these theories into multicultural competence? We start with PCT. This takes the idea of unconditional positive regard and it starts to apply it towards inequality of every culture. So, just like when you're unconditional in general, I see that as a way of applying it to every culture. So incorporating that with the competence of like, not only do we treat every client unconditionally, but we treat every client unconditionally regardless of their culture. And then also, similar is the cognitive behavioral theory, which applies an equality and sorry, I'm not feeling well. So my tone is off, but I'm saying the equality of cognitive behavioral therapy is supported with its structure. So its structure is almost think of a standardized test, right? So within a standardized test, it treats every test taker equally in that it is a standard way of evaluating something, right? So in that case, with this theory, it will evaluate everyone equally, regardless of culture, which is how those two theories can be compared in a in how would you say in respect of one's culture, being aware of that. So supervision considerations start with person-centered theory, which one big important thing to remember is the component of that alliance of the supervisor and the supervisee and how they work together to support one another, which is really big for PCT. Cognitive behavioral theory has 10 steps in which they go through, which remember is more structured, one of its biggest strengths. So it uses 10 steps for the individuals to work through in order to gain their competence used in supervision. Okay, personal relevance. Why did I choose these two theories? Well, one, after studying them all week, I thought back on how I really love this idea of unconditional positive regard and how it is able to be used toward practically anyone, right? I thought that's huge. What would be its counterpart? I thought, well, after a while, CBT. Why CBT? Because it's structured, it's cognition, it's very, biological almost, right? Because we're thinking of the brain versus when you think of person centered theory, that aligns more with like empathy, congruence, that teamwork element that not every theory has, because that's kind of a non directive way of styling the instruction built into supervision in order to teach them. So I like that two-way street that the supervisor and the supervisee has. So that's why I chose both of those in alignment with one another. And that's what the words on the PowerPoint are supposed to say. What I learned that each theory, person-centered theory and cognitive behavioral theory, both have a unique way of exploring and understanding the equivalence of how to treat people regardless of culture built into each theory. And those are my references. Yay, okay, hope you had a great Memorial Day weekend. Even if you're grading this long after, I understand that weekend was probably helpful to catch up on everything besides school. So I hope you enjoyed the PowerPoint. I will attach it in the assignment for reference and all those good things. Okay, how do I do?